Welcome back, or if it's your first time, I'm glad to have you here. I'm Matt Fendora, and you're tuned in to the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast, where we journey together toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Using mind, body, heart, and spirit as the anchors of our podcast, join me as we set sail into the depths of self-discovery, unraveling the interconnected layers that shape our growth. If you resonate with today's conversation, consider subscribing to the podcast. Your support means the world to us and ensures you never miss an empowering episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast, your go-to destination for personal growth and empowerment. Whether you're a loyal listener or a newcomer, I'm grateful for your presence. Today, we have the pleasure of chatting with Ronald Wayman. Ronald Wayman has devoted the past 3 decades to passionately coaching individuals to empower their inner storyline to become their best selves. As an Empower Life brain integration specialist, a licensed massage therapist, Empower Life kinesiologist, an emotional coach, neuroenergetic kinesiologist, and food enzyme consultant, Ron underscores the significance of empowerment and congruency within the heart, mind, body, and soul. He wrote a brain integration and mindfulness self-help book called Life Centering. He enjoys teaching life-centering techniques to family, friends, and clients. He is founder of the Sensory Dynamic Center and co-founder of Empower Life Kinesiology, a body and mind energy school. He helped create a spice blend, herbal blends, and essential oil blends for health and brain-body integration. Ronald Wayman and Denise Scholes are co-founders of the Mindbody Dictionary, which helps bridge the gap of understanding the powerful connection between the mind and the body. Ron's extensive work integrates applying breakthroughs in body energy systems, integrated body movements, brain neuroscience, nutrition, sensory integration, focused emotional processing, and motivational heart-mind empowerment. Constantly exploring new techniques rooted in traditional Eastern healing methodologies, he empowers practitioners to experience and facilitate remarkable physical, emotional, and energetic alchemy. He wants people to find the truth within their body, heart, and mind, which brings one back to their authentic soul. Ron and his wife, Janette, are proud parents of 6 children and grandparents of 18. Some of Ronald's proudest accomplishments include making a difference in people's lives, creating books and manuals to change people's lives, being a father, and being a grandfather. What makes Ronald's heart sing? The joy of people discovering their true self and feeling the tenderness of a person's heart. Without further ado, here's Ron. How are you doing today, Ron?
Great, great. Hopefully that's not a eulogy. That was pretty good.
There's so many different things that you've done, that you've put together to impact people in such a unique way that I'm really excited to dive in to this type of conversation.
Thank you. It's fun to be here with you, Matt. So, I'm always curious, and I'm writing 2 more books currently, and after the Mind-Body Dictionary and Life Centering, and the manual. So, I'm just curious about life, how to help people. It never ends, so it's fun.
So, what led you on this path to learning all of these different types of things?
Great question. Common question, and it is a long answer, so I'm going to shorten it down just a little bit. Um, so I was raised in a family that was nutritionally on the edge when I was a little boy, many decades ago. And they were into chiropractic and there was massage, foot zoning, all that stuff. They didn't call it foot zoning then, they just called it acupressure. But because of some injuries that I had and some abuse, we talked about that, Matt, earlier, and some difficulties with learning, I started to branch out from what my parents were teaching me, and I started going into learning about the mind and emotions. So I started taking courses, started listening, taking courses from naturopaths, taking courses from others who really understood the mind and the heart. And what I got out of it was a fantastic awareness of the connection and how to access the connection between the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. And I've been doing it ever since, adding to it all the time, obviously. So personal problems is what usually happens to most of us that get into this, of course. But I took it further And one other thing, my wife, she had a condition that had boils all over her, not all over her body, but most of her body when she got pregnant, and they couldn't find answers for her. And so that I suddenly thought I should mention because I was so uncomfortable with not being able to help my wife and family. I mean I had my stuff and I trudged through it and I figured out, but once that happened, that was probably the last trigger. Even though I had all my story and had my pain and suffering, when she had hers, I wanted to understand how could that ever happen? Something that they couldn't resolve right away. And now she's fine. And but the gift of, from what I went through and what she went through was a depth of feeling, being able to access the sensations of the body, the somatic work, be able to access the feelings, and then the logic, how the right and the left brain work, how to integrate that through words, feelings, processes, movements, food, because food can do it too. So hopefully that wasn't too long of an answer for you, but there you go.
So, how did you, essentially solve that problem when your wife got pregnant and got all these boils? How did you solve that?
Well, at the time, eventually a doctor gave her prednisone to minimize it. She was pregnant on all of them, and it was a pregnancy problem. They didn't tell me why. They didn't know why. Later, as I was discovering, it was a very low progesterone, extremely low progesterone, and her body had to pull as much progesterone out of her to be able to keep it going. And it has something to do with the placenta. Now, today, I think they may, this, my youngest now is 25, 27, right in that 25, 26, 27. So that was many, early on. And so I've discovered a lot. So, but then I had to go, well, we need to figure it out. So I went to Chinese medicine, I went to acupuncture, herbal. I started studying, I was studying the mind already. Yeah, it started me on the path of the mind. So I started understanding her mindset about being pregnant. She, I don't, yeah, I'm surprised I'm getting this depth, but this is okay. She was the third child in a family where her mother died when she was 12 of cancer. And and then she became the mother because her older brother and her older sister, which were much older, were off to college and other things. So she became the mother of her two sisters. And so there was something that happened. Just all this pressure she felt back then when she was younger came up again when she was having our fourth child, and it caused so much stress. Then you add in some genetic stuff with the progesterone that she was overwhelmed with having that fourth child. Even though she wanted the child consciously, she said, I'm fine. But it went not into stuck in the mind, it got stuck in the physical body. So a lot of people's conditions like arthritis, diabetes, heart, blood pressure, et cetera, those are manifestations of the body when there's conflict in the mind and the heart, and the mind and the heart can't work it out. And so it actually manifests in the physical realm because there's something off either in conflict, either when they're a child or current, and it needs to be resolved. So the body says, okay, I'll do it. And so we started work through it. So I didn't resolve completely everything because this is so long ago. But it got me on the path to understand it more and more and more. So by the time grandchildren came, and one of my granddaughters was having major problems with rashes and things like that, I was able to use that understanding to help the granddaughter and the mother deal with that. And, it's helped me later on with other people. So,
Mhm. So, when this pain, this disconnect between the mind and heart amplifies in the body, and there's those aches, whether that's arthritis, how do we work through that to where, let's say that arthritis leaves our body?
well, and so there's several different levels going on with all people. So when I wrote the Mind-Body Dictionary, I wanted to emphasize troubled mindset. So first of all, a person would want to understand what is troubling them. So, and I could go to one of those conditions, but right now I just want to say in general, to understand what's troubling. So the first thing is, do I feel sad? Do I think life is horrible? What's some of the beliefs and emotions that are troubling? And it would be helpful to get a history. So if you go to a cognitive therapist or an alternative coach, then you can understand that. So, but if you don't know the history, you take your troubled and then you go to a healing mindset. So the healing mindset is saying that even though I've had these problems and I've had these difficulties to believe, oh, my life is overwhelming, or I'm not good enough, that there's something the body's trying to resolve and the mind's trying to resolve. So we want to go and get a goal. We want an end goal in mind, so that every troubled mindset a person has, we want to find a way to transform that. We want to take it, embrace it, not run from it. If we avoid our troubles, well, we'll just keep having troubles. So I want to embrace it and go through it and use those troubles to my benefit. Because it's possible everything works for my good. That's one of my mantras. I say it often that this is for my good. I'm going to learn from this. And so I go into a healing mindset that it's the beliefs are only coping skills. Those troubled beliefs are only coping skills till I'm mature enough internally so that I can actually use it in a positive way. Then after you start massaging it, then you create affirmations, movements, change your life. So you have daily transforming. So when you have those thoughts come in, you catch them, you appreciate them, you transform them and go on. Now, I sped that up. It's obviously, more detailed than what I just said, but that's part of the essence. Using your troubles, bringing in embracing them, transforming them. Because if I believe that life is hopeless or is useless or this shouldn't happen, I will cycle in my troubles forever. But if I believe life has answers for me, that there's always an answer. I may not know what it is right now, but the answer is not on the outside. It's always coming from within. How am I going to transform my life to make a difference in my life and then in the lives of others?
So one of the things that you mentioned, I'm not very familiar with. You mentioned the affirmations, and then you said movement. What does the movement look like?
Okay. So most people know what affirmations are. And so, but movements, which is the next book I've been working on, I already have a manual for massage therapists and energy kinesiologists stuff that have different movements, and you can know which meridian it goes to, what's the reason for it, why it happens. And then what this next book is going to do is take a condition like arthritis or heart disease or digestion problems, and it will help the person know, hey, if you do a movement a certain way with so many intervals with another movement, it will not only help you integrate your mind, okay, it will also help you integrate your body with your mind so that actually you can make changes faster, easier, and it makes the person smarter. Their memory goes up. They have more vitality. So it's body movements that are specific for certain conditions or certain mindsets. And so, yeah, so the movements could be anything from your eyes to your legs to your toes, your fingers, your nose. Okay. Even your nose.
So I as you were saying that kind of reminded me of this podcast that I was listening to where somebody would wake up every day and they would take their finger, I think it was their thumb, and they would touch each one of their fingers. And as they would touch them, they would say a certain thing. And they said that that was something that would actually help prevent Alzheimer's in the future. Is that something that Is that a something that's true?
Well, I don't know if anyone can promise it's true or not, because how would you know? Because if they didn't have Alzheimer's, we know if they never would have. But that's part of the joke, right? Um, but I understand the intention of that, what that person's saying. The intention is they're connecting to their body, they're connecting to their mind, right? And
Hmm.
they're being real and they're being authentic. Because what I find with dementia and Alzheimer's is they lose that connection. Now, biologically, inside our brain, in the cortex, that anterior cingulate gyrus that comes up along there, it loses geography. And so people will have more tendency to have dementia when that geography of that anterior cingulate gyrus starts to diminish. How do you keep that geography going in that anterior cingulate gyrus? Um, be active of mind, be active of body, and do something good for someone else. Serve. Because the anterior cingulate gyrus has to do with, am I doing the right thing? Am I living in a way of changing my life and other people's lives? Activity of heart and mind and body helps the geography stay. So that simple act right there that you mentioned is very, very powerful, and it's simple. And so if I can just take a moment on simple, I know I have so much I do, and I have all these things I love to learn, and I study all this stuff, but I teach people that you start simple. Like that act you just said, you start the exercises, the movement simple. You start journaling. Your experience is simple. Make simple movements. And so I love interval walking. I love interval breathing. I love just starting with something that's simple, adding affirmations. And then every day when you add just a little bit more, you bring clarity, you bring hope, you bring vitality, and don't try to do it all at once. Just come simple, and the body will compensate in a positive way. It'll feed you. But if you try to overdo it too fast, you'll give up too fast. Or if you don't do anything at all, then of course it won't happen. But yeah, it does work.
So, a couple of the things that you have in your resume here, you talk about brain integration and kinesiology. Could you explain what those things are and how they work together?
Yeah. Um, the basis of brain integration, as it states, is to get the left and the right brain working together. And but it's more than that. We have frontal lobes that have to deal with the primal states. What is really popular in our society right now in this world is they talk about the vagal nerve, and the vagus nerve is important. It's that 10th cranial nerve. It's very powerful. It addresses the energy and information to the liver, the stomach, the gut, the heart, and etc. But that's coming from your brainstem, okay? And but what sometimes we forget is we have to have frontal lobe involvement, because if we have that brainstem getting carried away, then either we get too primal in anger and emotions, that's the affective neuroscience side of it, um, or we shut it down too much and we become too sedentary, too quiet. It's actually brain integration means a blend of getting your frontal lobes, getting your brainstem moving, getting that logical side going, that's your left brain for most, getting that emotional side, that's your right brain for most, getting it all integrated, working together in a happy family. This is not making us have the logic become emotional and the emotional become logic. We need each part of our brain to function really, really well, have a togetherness, but each part has its function. So brain integration will help with learning, will help with vitality, help with focus. So I do a lot of that. Now, on the energy kinesiology, that's the professional side of it. That's when someone wants to come do our training and training like that, where you can learn about Chinese medicine, the meridians, acupuncture, but we use acupressure, of course, because most people aren't licensed to be acupuncturists. And actually the logic and all the techniques. I mean, I we have so many manuals and so many techniques. It depends upon what the person wants to do. Energy work that is with the muscles for nutrition or emotions or neurotransmitters or gut health or mind health. So it is actually a vast world that hardly anybody knows about that can go in a very particular way and access so many things. And if someone just walks through slowly, they can learn that. But of course, I'm open to help the public and I'm open to help the professionals. So it's a vast world.
So, how do we work on getting the left brain and the right brain, the logical and emotional side, to work together?
Okay. The first thing is to understand what's the purpose of a logic brain. The logic brain needs to, put things in a box, make a list, make sure you're doing it right, and don't get overwhelmed, get things done. This is black, that's white, this is green, that's yellow. Get everything in order. Okay. The right brain is to fill in all the blanks, but actually, it's even more than that. The right brain actually is heavier than the left brain. It's actually wider. It has more connections than the left brain. It is by far more vast than the left brain in its possibilities. And the right brain will see the most minute details, okay? And it will also see the whole picture all at once. Where the left brain will do more abstract. It'll see details, but it's more, cut and dry. This is the way it is. Where the right brain wants to have the flow, wants to just move with it, wants to be emotional, wants to feel, and wants to sense things. Okay. So first you need to understand what it is before you can even work together. And some people who think they're really right brain, oh, I'm emotional, actually end up being more logical in their actions because they're trying to control their life too much. They control their emotions. They try to control other people's emotions. They try to put everything into a box so they can feel safe, which is actually more left brain. And some people who are really logical, sometimes, yes, they have all their lists, but they can sit and listen to music and are just fine and they don't get all worried. And so that's actually a right brain function to just relax and enjoy the show of life. So understanding those functions is really helpful. And so that's mental. And then you go the next level is understanding your beliefs and that's more left brain. And then you attach your beliefs to an emotion, that's more right brain. And then you see how you play with it. You see if, when, let's say you're going to do a podcast like you're doing here, and is all my material there? Okay. When you have the thought, is all my material available? Am I ready? If the belief comes that, oh, wait, I forgot to do that, immediately there could be an emotion of fear or a little anxiety. So that fear and anxiety is more emotional, right? That's bringing up that right brain. And so my left brain could go, it's going to be okay. I've got everything in order. And then the emotion can calm down. Or the emotion could rise too much and the left brain goes, oh, I don't know. I'm not in control here. I don't know. And then the anxiety goes up. And then the left brain goes, we got to figure this out. And the emotion goes up. So it's understanding the teeter-totter between the two brains. And then, of course, in brain integration, you can understand how your primitive brain comes in. It's too emotional. It's all reactive, makes your body all tight, makes, the gut hurt when you go to speak. And so, um, if anybody has done somatic work, you put your hand on your belly. And if you're a little nervous, put your hand on your belly or your chest, depends upon the person or both. You take a little deep breath while your hands are there. And what I do is I let go of the belief in that moment, oh, I've got to hurry and get things done. And I go, well, whatever. I'm going to give myself 30 seconds to 5 minutes, depending upon what the situation is. And I just want to feel and sense my body because the body connects to the child inside. The body is more the simple. And if I just really connect to my body, take some nice, deep swing breaths, whatever you choose to do. And once I connect there and sense it, and once I make that connection, then the body will start to relax. It is no different than a parent putting their hand on a shoulder of a child who's scared and then giving the child a hug. It's giving yourself a hug. It's honoring yourself. And once I sense the connection happening, my brainstem will start to calm. My frontal lobe will start to relax. My left brain won't be concerned about all the things it needs to be concerned about. And I have less fear. Okay. So I'd step through that. And then from a professional view, brain integration, I would teach exercises to do to move the body so that you would be able to link that in and be able to keep that brain integration. So one exercise is very popular, of course, is I can't really show it on the screen too well, but you would do a marching in place. It's famous cross crawl from a long time ago. Cross crawl. So your hand would touch the opposite leg the opposite knee that is raised. But I like to put my hands way up in the air, like it's a jumping jack, but I'm not doing a jumping jack. I'm reaching my hand across the body and down and touching that leg that goes up. That's a very simple brain integration movement, and it's worked for years. I just put my hands up in the air. A lot of the other people keep their hands down. I have um, hundreds of possibilities that we do based upon the person's need. And then professionally, we would actually test the acupuncture points, and then we would find points to find out what techniques to use professionally to help the brain, the left brain, and the right brain integrate. And so that we would have a person be able to integrate both sides of the brain. So,
Are there any myths or misconceptions that people have about body movement that you could debunk?
could you give me a misconception?
I was hoping you knew some. Uh,
That's okay. It's just that it just took me for a moment. And I know there's body dysmorphia, and the body itself, they visualize the body as being too large when they're actually too skinny, right? And there's that where movement is internal, where they can't connect to the size and shape to their body. They're in an delusional state, and helping the body become real. Because I work with people that have these delusions in their life, mentally and emotionally, and helping them bringing them back to reality. So there's that type. Then there's the other type where you have movements are where you have to over exercise or you have to over do things, and sometimes some people over exercise and they actually harm their thyroid. Their reactive T3 of their thyroid becomes too much, and it actually harms thyroid function. Or Hashimoto's for some people. Hashimoto's has a lot of reasons though, so it's not just exercise. Um, and so there's trying to think of where um, um, body movement. It's a great question. Um, oh, I know the interval stuff. I really like because when people are exercising and moving, um, they want to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they push through, and then they push more. And I understand the reason for that, and they want to gain muscle. They want to go really and go into the depth of workouts. However, I've noticed that if people will push to a certain level to near their capacity instead of past their capacity, that if they just go near and then rest or slow down, then go near their capacity again, rest a little bit and slow down, over time, they actually advance more than if they keep going past their capacity. It's like the body doesn't trust them. And if the body doesn't trust them, the body will pull back. And that includes things like weight loss, endurance people, et cetera, et cetera. So listening to the body, really connecting, and you don't have to lose the goal you have, just be honoring of the body, and the body will always honor you back. But if you go too far, it won't work. And I'll give you a really cool example of chronic fatigue here. I had a lady come in the other day who had extreme chronic fatigue. That's a common thing out there. And they blame COVID now for all that. Okay. But I put it in the same category. I don't, doesn't matter. And so she comes in and we were talking, and yeah, she had stuff and I was doing my work. But I said, it sounds like to me you like to work hard. Oh yeah, I really like to work hard. And I said, it sounds like you like to do what other people, saying you do. Like you like to serve people, you like to help people. She said, oh yeah, I really like to help people. I said, well, do you work too hard and serve too hard and not take care of yourself? Well, I have to. I have to work too hard. And then she gave me all these excuses why she overworked too hard. I said, well, there's your chronic fatigue. You've got a belief in your head that if you don't work hard enough, then you don't have value. And it went to her childhood and everything. She didn't have value unless she overworked, unless she overserved. And I said, well, let's work with that belief, because then you're overdoing your body. You're not listening. And so she worked through the process, of course, and and she was surprised how much energy she gained just by doing that, by switching her belief system that fast. So anyway,
So I happen to know somebody who is like that. So I'm curious, how did they end up working through that?
yeah, that's right. Well, there was a lot of things we did. And in this case, and I want to honor that person, but this is similar to so many people. So it's I can put a lot of people in this classification, including myself at one time, because I went through extreme chronic fatigue years and years ago. Um, I have a lot more energy today than I did 40 years ago, actually. So, um, so she really connected her emotional state with as a child. She had to on her farm. She was raised on a farm. That if they didn't work, they would starve. Their parents made them believe everything's going to fall apart. You have to work all the time, no time for fun. So she had that belief. Okay. Um, and then she connected to the present time, different people that she believed that. But one of the key things, I mean, obviously, there's no way to do the whole process here. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast to take step by step, right? But she needed to really embrace the joke, almost, so to speak, of her belief was worse than all these people telling her what to do. All her beliefs that, oh, if I don't do this, I'm a horrible person or I'm not good enough. That her her willingness to obey her inner false belief was worse than anything on the outside. And once she started saying, oh, well, okay. And she actually went pretty fast, this one. But a lot of times people need to breathe out their tears and cry them out and get out their fears, because the emotions help us, hold on to those things. I don't say emotions are wrong. Actually, we need emotions to color our life. Our life it is wonderful with emotions. It's just sometimes they need direction. The left brain will give direction, right? And so we bring those emotions up. And so this one went pretty fast because she had done a lot of her emotional work with a lot of therapists. So she worked through the belief, she felt the emotions, and then she also started to see her value of, of not what she does, it's the value of who she is. Because most people, they say, oh, I'm an architect, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. No, those are things you do. Who you are is, divine child of God, who I am. And you know this, Matt. I mean, you teach this. And I am full of light and truth and hope and courage. And how did that experience help you become those things? But not things. They're values that are naturally born in every child. When you hold a child, a newborn, they're born with light. They're born with joy. They're born with so much amazing energy. It's coming back to that truth. And that's really ultimately where we went. Okay.
Hmm. I feel like this is a fantastic transition to how do these things of understanding the integration of our mind and our movement, how does that impact our mental health?
Yeah, and it'll be clear to some people because if they're involved in this type of work, they'll go, well, yeah, of course. But if we ignore everything below our eyebrows, okay, if we ignore everything below our eyebrows, we're not really living. We might as well be in a locked up in a closet somewhere and living a false life. Mental health includes everything. It includes our heart, it includes our body, it includes our soul. It includes having both sides work together. If a cognitive therapist doesn't include all parts of that, it really slows down the therapy. And I know several therapists. I have people that are therapists that come to me and we work together. And they do that. And it's really, I really encourage and applaud them. So mental health is all about bringing the whole picture. So if you know someone who is really mentally challenged with their emotional state and their life, please help them start moving their body, breathing, getting out, at least get that started and find a way to safely communicate their feelings with a person. And it can be a friend, it can be a family member that will honor them and respect that that's how they feel. Instead of saying you shouldn't feel that way. No, 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 we don't say, no, that's how you feel. And we understand because a feeling and a belief doesn't determine who we are. It determines our experience. That's all it's determining. And so if we can take those things and feel those things out, then you can help people and help the mental health world within yourself and other people immensely. People need people. People need movement. People need understanding, and people need wisdom.
So, for those people who aren't adding that movement into their life to help with their mental health, is there a simple way where they can start implementing that movement?
Yeah, I mean, what if they just start walking every day? And some people say, well, it hurts when I walk. Well, then get one of those apparatuses where you pedal. You know, they have these little pedal things that you can put your feet on. And then you can use your hands like that. So sedentary people that can move any part of your body that you can. And so let's assume they can walk. And so they get out and they walk for 5 minutes or 1 minute for one day. Then the next day, go for an extra 30 seconds to a minute. Remember, if we start it small and simple, we won't sabotage it as easy. Most people, they get out and they say, well, I went for an hour. I'm so tired. I don't want to go again. And then they don't go again. Uh, 5 minutes every day is better than an hour a month.
Hmm.
Okay, by far. And it's just how our body is. If we want to accomplish a goal, we need to sacrifice something. But the sacrifice doesn't have to be huge. So it could be small and it could be just walking. Now, I like interval walking, so I like to go for a couple minutes one pace and a couple minutes another pace. And it really works. It helps anxiety a lot. And getting that movement. The other thing is Qigong. Qigong and Tai Chi are fabulous because that movement, you can get it on YouTube. You can go like crazy. I'll have my movement book out. I don't know. I haven't got a date yet. But it's more specific. It'll have emotions to every movement, and it'll have things that the conditions to go to. But until then, please get your movement going. And I mean, just the arrow one where it goes across the body like that is fabulous. Just to open up the back. There's a quote that I don't remember who said it now, but if there is no movement, there's no reason to learn anything. Learning is based on movement. You actually have to have movement to have learning. So those schools that get rid of recesses, bad news.
Mm.
That kids need recesses to learn. You put things in the brain and then you go move and it integrates into the body. So, yeah.
So, with all of the tips and experiences that you've given today, how can they take these things that you've taught them to help transform their lives into something better?
Well, I would challenge you to sit down with someone you care well about and you trust and start just identifying some of the areas in your life that you'd like to change and narrow it down to one, two, or three and write it down. And then look at some of the beliefs that are in your way. And you may not know what it is. That's why you do it with someone who cares. Because they will say, oh, well, you kind of say this all the time when you can't do that. And identify some of the emotions. And if you don't do it with someone you care and you do it yourself, you can. We're probably, well, it's any week now. And by the time this podcast comes out, our journal is going to be out, the Mindbody Journal, which is going to be a prompting journal. So it'll prompt them for ideas, what they can do every single day, um, and prompt them with ways to process through ideas. And so that would be a great addition to the dictionary to help work through a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. But after they do that, then I would say during the day, when they've written some of this stuff, is see how it shows up during the day. Make it a discovery and say, well, what can I learn today with this one, just one thing at a time? Say, I want to learn how to, feel more confident. Maybe I just not confident enough. And then go throughout the day and watch what happens when I catch myself not being confident. Make a note of it, acknowledge it. What do I feel in my body? What do I feel in my heart? What do I think in my head? And it'll start actually making a story, and you'll see progress, and you'll then you'll say, well, what movements help me be more confident? And you can actually walk through quite a bit doing that. And of course, I have tools that are wonderful, and I wrote them because I said, well, I want to help more people rather than I can't do individual sessions with people forever, right? I need to find bigger ways to do it. So that's why manuals and books. But if they'll start there, they'll start seeing insights, and all of a sudden their mind will give them ideas and their soul about how to accomplish and go to the next level in their life.
So now that we're getting to the end of the podcast, I have three questions which I ask all the guests, and these are over the topics of what this podcast is, which is live, love, and grow. So the first question I have is, what advice can you share about how to create a life that leaves a positive impact on the world?
Okay. Um, every day, whether in your profession, in your home, or just out, seek to make a difference. And that difference isn't supposed to be big. It's not like you need to get a whole bunch of balloons and have a birthday celebration for everybody on the planet. It is just simple that everybody can use a calm or positive word or a feeling or a touch or a caring sense to them. And if you have that intention of making a difference every day to someone, whoever it is, you don't know sometimes you will. It will bring joy into your life more than you can imagine.
Mhm.
So that would be my admonishment and challenge.
The second question I have is, what are some practical ways people can cultivate self-love?
Do the first thing I just said. If they would do what I just said and make a difference and serve, it would help them cultivate self-love because I think the world is so, well, it's been this way from the beginning of time. We start out life, we think of ourselves, our needs, mine. And then over time, as we grow and mature, we realize, oh, real happiness isn't all me. It's we,
Mhm.
right? It's not just you, because other people just serve and they don't take care of themselves. It's a we and honoring. And so saying that I think will help. So you serve, but you serve with the self being honored. In Christian, Muslim, and Jewish traditions, they have a commandment that says, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, that means you love self, a balanced self, have boundaries, and then serve. If I serve in a way that harms me, that's going to actually harm others eventually. And it won't bring joy, and I won't have energy to do it. So, proper boundaries and wisdom. If I have someone in my life that is trying to take advantage of me, then it's inappropriate. So people have been scammed. It's because they a scammer got away with thinking, oh, you need to do this. No, set a boundary and you won't get hurt. Okay. That's very important. And then serve. Okay.
Mhm.
What's the third?
The third question is, what is one actionable tip someone can do today to grow 1% better?
A textbook tip. Is that what you said?
What is one actionable tip?
Oh, I know. My head went in the other direction. What is actionable tip that they can improve 100%? Is that what it is?
1%.
Oh, 1%. I'm just hearing all over the place. Yeah. Okay. It means I need a drink of water probably. Um, one actionable tip, take a deep, long breath in and out where you pause and then you breathe out and you pause. And while you breathe, let go of your cares of this world and think of nature, think of waterfalls, and just do that once a day for 2 minutes. I know that's a simple one. It's very small, but if you will do that little breathing technique, I talk about it in one of the places that if they will do that actionable, just breathe as if it's in a breeze outside. They will change their life forever because it will open up a new path. And it's only at first it's less than 1%. And if they do that, that 1% adds up to multiple percents over time.
Mm,
Okay.
that's a great tip. How can people connect with you?
Well, I really would like them to go through the Mindbody Dictionary website. There's a contact us there, and they can talk. Go to the Empower Life trainings if they'd like for the professional side of things to learn all the cool stuff we do with energy stuff. Uh, but Mindbody Dictionary is usually better for the public. And if you just go to the contact form for Mindbody Dictionary, that'd be great. I mean, obviously, they can look me up on the internet and figure out how to find all my contact information, and that's fine. I'm okay, but I prefer that.
And how can the audience support you on your journey?
Oh, definitely. If I would love the audience to, if you do the purchasing, you share. I mean, actually, I have an app, a Mindbody Dictionary app. You can get the app and the book and look it up, and then when you find a condition, that's changed your life, then help someone else find, hey, look at this. Look at your healing mindset. Look at your troubled mindset. Look how you can change your life. Share the idea of transformation with people, and it will help you. It will help yourself. And it just is crazy fun. Just be wise not to tell people what to do. But yeah, that's what I would love.
Yeah. Well, Ron, it was really great having you on. I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing all your wisdom. There was definitely a lot of things that I think people can take away and actually apply today as even as they're listening, they could start applying these things. So I just want to appreciate you for coming on here and doing that.
You bet. It's enjoyable to be with you, Matt. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Choose to Live, Love, and Grow podcast. I hope you took something away from this episode that you can implement today just like I did. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Let me know by sharing this episode in your Instagram stories and tag me at Matt Findora. If you've enjoyed this episode, the ones before, and or you're looking forward to future episodes, please hit that subscribe or follow button. It helps me get this information to even more people. No matter what you choose to do, choose to live, love, and grow. Thank you, and have an outstanding day.